Hello everyone, I'm back and I'm gonna get right into what I use. This is the Kima Deep Wave 8-inch hair. It comes two to a pack, and I use this to make the curly part of the braid. And this is the pre-stretch glance braiding hair. That's 1B, and this one is the 27, which is the color I'm going to use for the highlights, the light highlights. This is the wavy Kima color 30. It goes into the blonde part of the hair. This is the edge control that I use. And here's the size that I make the pieces that I use. So you see I lay the edge control down a little at the top already. And when I braid using 3 strands, and I start the first turn of the braid and then add the hair. I have another video titled How to Do Knotless Braids on Kids, and it's a little more detailed of me doing a whole head of knotless braids. It was a little difficult to try to do the knotless braids on myself and then try to show all this in camera, so I'm just really making 3 braids so you can see what I'm doing. But as you see, when I'm adding the hair, I'm wrapping around one strand and then I go back and use the second strand, because with this way it doesn't make the braid look big. When you just add the hair in and you want to use big pieces and you stick the hair up just as one up under the braid instead of wrapping it around, then it makes the braid more bulkier, and you can see sometimes when it's where it's added in at. So like what I mean is, you see that the right strand went around and then I send the second strand around as I'm going in more into the braid. So about a third of the way down, you want to add the curly hair. And I just need only one side of the curly hair. So one side I'm going to pin up and the other side I'm just going to braid into the rest of the hair. And now that I'm 2/3 of the way down, I'm going to add another piece of hair and do the same thing, where I'm just going to leave one side down and then the other side is going to show the curly hair. No, actually, since it's at the bottom of the hair, I'm going to leave both pieces down of the curly hair. So instead of only leaving one side, it's going to be both sides. But as I'm braiding, I'm still braiding the straight hair to go all the way down. So now it's going to look like it's 3 curly pieces instead of 2. But sometimes I go in and add the curly hair on the end, like down here. But this time I didn't have to because I went down far enough. So I'm just taking the extra hair, the straight, and wrapping it around the hair right above the curly hair, and then I'm going to burn it, but not burn it too much because I don't want the hair to just melt and fall off. But this doesn't have to be perfectly done. You can do this different ways. So you can do like every other one with no hair, curly hair, or some with curly hair. But now I'm just going in, and once again I'm laying the edge control down. This edge control is what keeps the hair to usually last longer, because if I don't use anything and I have this much of a big parting, if you don't braid tight enough, it's going to make the braids loosen up quick. And excuse my parting, I wasn't using a mirror, so I couldn't see that my part was not straight at the top, but later I ended up going to fix it. So now I'm back adding the hair. I already started my 3 pieces, braided my real hair before I added this hair. Oh, and as far as edge control, the best edge control that I've used is Edge Effect. They have like 5 different colors. I'm using a pink. The pink is not so stiff, but they all make the braid stiff. But the pink one is a looser, like it has a looser feel to the hair versus the green. I like the green edge control the best because it actually, once you lay that onto the hair, it lasts for about 3-4 days. So if you do your edges will stay down compared to some of these other edge controls that only last for a day. So once again, I added my first, I used about 2, depending on the braid. I don't use the same amount for each braid, depending on how far up I'm going, but I usually use the same amount of hair pieces per row. So I might use 2 strands of hair in one row, 3 strands in another row because it's up higher, so I needed to reach down to the last row. But just following the same steps. Once I get down to a third of this braid, I'm going to add curly hair in again. But you're not, unless you want your hair really full, in which I didn't want a whole lot of curly hair, which causes it to tangle, more hair and more work, then you don't have to add many pieces. So this one I just pretty much added the piece to the end instead of adding it to the middle of the hair because I don't want a whole lot of curly hair in. But this brand Kima does pretty good. It doesn't really tangle up. I usually don't put product in my hair as I have the hairstyle in. I'm not good with like keeping up with maintenance with my own hair. So the Kima hair, it lasts a while without having to do so much and not getting tangled all up. So those of you who don't like hair really full, you can do every other braid with the hair in the middle. What I mean by that is, like, the first braid, you can have the 2 or 3 curly pieces. The second braid can just be the curly pieces on the end, like I did this one. And the next braid could be the hair with the 2 or 3 curly pieces. And then some of the braids can be, it's no perfect order of how your hair has to be because nobody's going to pay attention to how many pieces are in your hair. But you can braid some of the braids with no curly hair on it and it still will look right. to show you once again. I'm taking 3 pieces, and then I make the first turn with the right hand and then the left hand, and then add left hand and the right hand, and then I add the piece on top. Take the right piece and make it go under the braid, and then do 1 turn and pull that piece back through the middle. And as I said, I have a more detailed video. You can go and watch how I do my knotless braids on kids, and it's a slower step to doing knotless braids. So that's a wrap on this video. It was hard for me to try to finish this, and my nails is doing something. So I had to get into a mirror and finish this hairstyle the next day. But I pretty much put the colors on the top the same way. I put it in the same way. The brown, maybe a few pieces of the brown and a few pieces of the blonde. But if you have any questions, feel free to message me, and I'll see you in the next video.